We are beginning to see, drought, famine in some parts of the world. Too much rain sometimes. You remember the floods
Yeah.
we had 2 years ago? So either there's too much water or there's too little water. What are some of the things we can do as individuals to conserve water, to use it more judiciously?
Let's say when we're brushing our teeth, we can shut the tap, so like we're saving water.
Each time you flush a toilet, you're using maybe 4.5 gallons of water,
That's so
right?
much. It's a very small difference, but to that person who we're giving the water to, it's like a huge difference because they like have like another chance in life. Or like we can't live without water. Like we're made up of.
People usually wash their hands next to a plant.
Oh, that's so smart.
Why?
So then, okay, let's say we're all rich and we all take these cars to wherever we want to go, like even though like a short distance, and like we don't take public transport, and like we emit so much extra like carbon dioxide that make it like much hotter. Yeah, like just like small steps can like after like a long time can make like a huge difference.
What if I told you a fungus could save the planet? It sounds unbelievable, right? But Mycelium, a humble fungus, has the power to connect and strengthen ecosystems in ways we're only beginning to understand. It's an underground network of fungal threads connecting plants and trees, exchanging nutrients, water, and even messages. Mycelium helps forests stay healthy, resilient, and thriving by allowing trees to communicate and support one another, especially when disaster strikes. When a single tree faces destruction, the mycelium network steps in. Other trees activate their fungal connections to nourish and support the struggling tree, bringing it back to life. Just like mycelium connects and strengthens nature, Dawn Media's Breathe Pakistan campaign aims to unite us in the fight against climate change. Pakistan is one of the hardest hit victims of climate change, and just like mycelium, it's time we come together to heal and protect our environment. Join Breathe Pakistan to create a movement as powerful as mycelium itself. Let's weather the change together.
Breathe Pakistan.
A Dawn Media initiative.
Let's weather the change
Together.
Hello and welcome to DawnNews. My name is Shahzeb Jillani. We know that Pakistan is at the receiving end of climate change, facing all sorts of disasters in the last few years, even though it contributes very little to greenhouse gases and global warming. The issue has focused minds in Pakistan and beyond, but the conversation has hardly ever involved children. Today with me in the studio are two young women from Karachi Grammar School. You're both from year 7,
Yeah.
right? Amaya and Hana, right? Welcome. How do you feel being in the studio with all these lights on?
It feels like very professional.
It feels
And
professional.
I'm not professional.
And you're a professional. So I understand that you are working on a project to do with water conservation, and you are familiar with climate change, right? So let me just start off testing your knowledge. What do you understand by climate change when you hear conversation about climate change?
I think it's when like people say like how the weather and like the weather changes over a long period of time, but like how like humans, all because of like how humans burn fossil fuels and like how all our man-made like items use like emit carbon dioxide and like all the other greenhouse gases that make the atmosphere much hotter and like makes an increase in the temperature over like making glaciers melt and icebergs also melt. So like which
That is a good enough
making rising sea
explanation. What
levels.
about, can you add anything, Hana?
It's like I think it's like when the world changes with these man-made items, like the world's changing over some time. But and yeah.
Yeah. So, look, there is this huge conference that takes place annually, which is called the Climate Change Conference, where nations of the world unite and they discuss adverse impact of climate change and they try to find solutions to it. We haven't made much progress, but basically, as you rightly said, over the last century or so, since the industrial age, we've read about industrial revolution, right? Since the industrial age, we've been emitting way too many gases in the atmosphere and they get trapped. And that is heating up the planet. It's changing a lot of things. Some things are irreversible, right? Now, I have talked to school children in Pakistan, in Germany, in Britain, and I've often asked them what is the single biggest issue that they worry about. And guess what? Climate change. So the awareness is growing. You're working on a water conservation project.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about your project?
So basically we have like a website which my other group members are doing, which is like based on like the poor areas of Pakistan that really need water and like different levels of like how severe it is. Like for example, like we have like a green which is not so bad, and then like it goes like a medium, it's like a yellowish orange, which is like it needs it badly, and red is like when it's like red is like a really like severe, needed badly the water. So like there's like a different amounts of bottles, like 1 liter or like 2 or 3, like you can donate to the countries, and they obviously cost a different amount.
Right.
So like if you want to help, you can help, and like and then they get transported to those like small, like we give the money to the one person who's like in the village, they get the money and they buy the water for like the people.
What do you understand by water conservation?
Well, we're saving water by doing like different things. Like, let's say when we're brushing our teeth, we can shut the tap. So like we're saving water and not wasting it, because a lot of water is being wasted.
So in the city of Karachi, we know water is a precious commodity. There are entire neighborhoods and they don't get water in the tap, and they have to get a water tanker, and it costs a lot of money, right? There are things that we can do as individuals, and there are things that government needs to do, right? What are some of the things we can do as individuals to conserve water, to use it more judiciously?
So like you can like use it wisely. Like for example, when you're showering, instead of just putting it on because you're cold, and like when you're putting soap on, just turn it off, because like the climate, like it's like you're wasting so much, and the whole village could use that much water. And then like when you're making like when you're like brushing your teeth, as she said, you could just turn off the tap while you're doing it, and then washing your face again when you're putting the face wash on, turn the tap off and turn it back on when you're done. And then yeah, like just like small steps can like after like a long time can make like a huge difference.
Do you think we waste more water when we take a shower rather than if we use a bucket? Yeah, right. Because if you're standing in a shower for like, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes, and especially in winter, nice hot shower, there's a tendency to just stay there, right?
Yeah, I do that.
And not pay attention to how much water is being wasted. And if you're using a bucket, you actually keep track of how much water you've used. The other thing I've noticed in some countries is for flushing the toilet, each time you flush a toilet, you're using maybe 4.5 gallons of water,
that's so
right?
much.
In some countries, they've developed a technology where they're conserving the air conditioning water.
Yeah, that's so smart.
It goes into the tank, and they recycle that. Some people also use the air conditioning water to water plants, right? These are like small steps, but they can go a long way if most of us are conscious, are aware, like your generation is. I think the previous generation maybe wasn't as much. Now, in terms of your project, you were telling me about your website. Yeah, I want to know more.
So like that's like pretty much it, but like we mainly focus on giving like water to like smaller like parts that like they don't have like the privileges that we do, like it's so cold, let's just put the water on for 10 hours and leave it on. But like they like forget showering, they need it like so badly just to drink and just to survive. Like it's like that bad. So like for example, like to donate like water, like let's say 1 bottle, look, it's like not gonna like that's like what 40 rupees, and then like it's gonna help like a family. They like be so thankful for the water they can actually like drink, and like they'll be like so like it's like I think that maybe like it's not gonna be that big of a change, but the fact that it's a very small difference, but to that person who we're giving the water to, it's like a huge difference, because they like have like another chance in life, or like we can't live without water. Like we're made up of.
You guys are together in that project,
Yeah.
right? Are you looking at like a particular area or all over Pakistan?
All over, but the smaller ones, not like Karachi, Lahore, like much smaller like villages.
Right. And will you be recommending ways on conserving water?
Yeah, but we also that's like a different section. Like we have like 2 parts, which like one is like how to dot like explains how you should, and one is like where you can just donate. It says donate, and you can press where you want to donate.
Right. Are you familiar with the Thar Desert?
No.
It's a desert area in the east of Sindh province. If you were to drive east of Karachi, like 5-6 hours, you will end up in Third Desert. Now, desert, as we know, face water shortages and droughts, right? From my travels there, over the years, I have seen people conserve water, especially when there's rainfall, right? And how do they do it? Take a wild guess. How do you harvest rainwater?
Like build dams.
Exactly, small dams.
Yeah, like
right?
reservoirs and like all that
Absolutely.
stuff.
Have you heard of Karunjhar Mountain, Granite Mountains? So these are beautiful mountains, basically in the basically southeast of Sindh province. It borders India, and I would strongly urge you to go there. There's a nice commune, and you can spend a weekend there. In the Karunjhar Mountains, when it rains, it has a natural flow for the water, and there are natural dams, and some dams have been built by the community to make sure that the water doesn't kind of rush through the terrain and gets wasted, and they harvest it. So if it rains in August and you conserve and harvest that water, you can sustain your sheep, goat, your livestock on it for next 6 months, 8 months. You can also grow vegetables. You can be sustainable. So in water conservation in these kind of areas, small steps go a long way, right? One of the other things I've noticed in my travels in Third Desert is after you've had a meal and you want to wash your hands, and if you have a bottle, people usually wash their hands next to a plant.
Oh, that's so smart.
Why?
So then
So
the
it's
water
not-
doesn't get wasted,
Yeah,
it goes
it's
to
not
the
getting
plant
wasted.
instead.
And you are by rinsing your hands, you are
Yeah.
actually watering the plant as well. Very small steps. And these are people who are not like super educated. They don't have PhDs in water conservation, but it's an attitude, everyday attitude, because water is precious, and they want to use each drop carefully and judiciously. So there are lots of other areas of water conservation where, because of climate change, we are beginning to see, drought, famine in some parts of the world. Too much rain sometimes. You remember the floods
Yeah.
we had 2 years ago? So either there's too much water or there's too little water, and the trick is to use that resource, right? Anything that fascinates you about climate change that you want to know about, you want to figure out?
I want to know what causes water scarcity and how does climate change make it worse, impact it?
What do you think? Take a wild guess.
Because the hotter it gets, the more less rainfall. I don't know, and then the sea level rises, so there's more salt water, and I don't know, actually.
Okay, so look, we know that global warming, which is basically rise in temperature over decades, right? Because of that, our glaciers are melting up in the north. You've seen the floods and villages being swept away. One of the other effects of global warming is unpredictable weather and strong extreme weather conditions. So as I said, sudden rain, unexpected, and causing flooding.
And also
right?
excessive heat as well.
Excessive heat. I
Yeah.
mean, Pakistan, again, as I said, Pakistan has one of the hottest places in the world. I think we had a record a couple of years ago. It is the worst affected by floods. It has melting glaciers in the north. Heat, as you said, rightly said, in cities like Karachi. You remember 2015? Maybe you may not
Yeah, I was
remember. In
too young, I
2015, hundreds of people reportedly died because of a heat wave.
Oh my.
It was unbearable. Now, Karachi has the advantage of sea breeze, right?
Yeah.
When it gets really hot, we still have the breeze and we can survive. That summer, I remember, the breeze either changed or it stopped. And I talked to people in neighborhoods where elderly were dying, and people at risk were dying, and they were saying we couldn't breathe, as if like we had run out of air in that heat, right?
Also, it's so humid. It makes the atmosphere humid, and then like it gets it's like claustrophobic.
So one of the things I would like you to really think about is that climate change is also about inequality, global as well as local. Rich people have the resources to mitigate. So for example, if I'm filthy rich and the temperature out there is 50 degrees,
Put the AC on.
I will put my
And that heat
ACs
doesn't
on,
bother you.
I will have the solar, I will have mineral water bottles, I will have my fridge. I can create an environment so I'm unaffected. But in impoverished areas, where in a small room, 8 people live, they don't have electricity, there's power shortage, there is no water, you can expect there will be more deaths over there.
Yeah, and also they like contribute much less. Like, okay, let's say we're all rich and we all take these cars to wherever we want to go, like even though like a short distance, and like we don't take public transport, and like we emit so much extra like carbon dioxide that make it like it much hotter, and then it's like almost like it's like unfair. Like how come? And they contribute like way less. Cause they probably take like public transport and like do these other like stuff like as you said, like washing your hands at a plant. Like we don't do that. Like we don't like keep it on. And they contribute way less, and they have their hazard is like way like it's much higher. So that's unfair because like we have like a much like less chance
Yeah.
to die.
And this inequality exists on global level as well. Rich countries are the biggest polluters, and it used to be the US and Canada and Australia, but now China, for example, our neighbor, is one of the major polluters, right? They are the ones who are causing the damage to environment. Who's paying the price? People, countries like us, right?
Yeah.
At the receiving end of all the damage that's taking place. And so when you want to learn about climate change, you have to be mindful of who has the resources, who is exploiting them, and who's getting punished for it. And it's often not the same people, right? So in our daily lives, we do what we can to conserve water, right? Because this resource is not unlimited, right? And we are mindful that there are other people who do not have access to it. So we do that in our individual lives, and we also ask the government, right, to fulfill its responsibility. Any last thoughts and questions before I end?
Yeah, so like how does like the farming and like industries contribute to water scarcity, and like what can be done to like reduce the impact, and like how harsh it like is it?
So look, big industries use a lot of resources, right? Because they for example need it, right? And oftentimes their practices are unsustainable, right? And that is why in the Western world they have talked about sustainable development. Any idea what that might be about?
I think it might be like how like it can be like they can do what they're trying to do, like, but like trying to make like instead of being like so like selfish and like doing this for their own industry and like making the whole world suffer, they can do it so that nobody really suffers and they get their job done. I
Exactly.
think, yeah.
Exactly. So thinking about the cost and benefit, of course we do need industries. I'm not saying that
Yeah.
we don't need to develop and we don't need to build roads, but we need to be mindful that are we destroying the environment irreparably and playing havoc with the ecology. So sustainable development is mitigating against some of the destructive side side of development, and moving forward in a way that you are causing minimum damage or you are mitigating against it. So for example, if your industry requires lots of trees to be cut in that area, you make sure that you are planting
More.
maybe twice
The
of that
amount,
amount
yeah.
somewhere else, right? So that is a way of mitigating and adapting. But it's a long struggle. At the moment, we are not winning
Yeah.
because the big players, the rich players, the greedy players are having their way. And I think it will come down to you guys, your generation, to be more forceful about it, to demand action. But thank you very much for coming into Dawn News. I learned a lot from you. I don't know if you learned anything, but let's keep the conversation going. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Breathe Pakistan.
A Dawn Media initiative.
Let's weather the change
Together.